Hey everyone, Leanne Bridges here. I'm author, speaker, and founder of Designing Transformation, which helps change leaders live their passion and purpose. So we have a great guest here, Nathalie Mailhot, and she has just moved from Montreal down to the Dominican Republic. So she has a wonderful story, really interesting what's going on right now with people who are deciding to, because of the ability to kind of live and move anywhere at this point, people are deciding to move around and try different things and go on adventures. So Nathalie has a great story about her adventure with her family. And so I'd just really love to welcome you. Thanks so much for joining us today, Nathalie.
Thank you for having me. I'm really excited to be here.
Awesome. So you moved just a couple of months ago. How many months ago? It was in the summer, right?
We are going on our 6-month anniversary this weekend.
Wow. So it was in the spring and you moved from the Montreal area down to the Dominican Republic. And can you tell us start with why, why you decided to do that? And maybe in that, introduce a little bit about who you are and kind of the work you do? Yeah.
So it's because we watched a TV show. That's what happened.
That's awesome.
We had actually talked about moving abroad many years ago before we had our daughter. And of course, when we had her, things went on pause. And over the holidays, just before the holidays, we had a bit of a surprise in our world. My husband was thanked for his professional services and found himself without a job. However, he'd been an author for the last 3.5 years, and he'd always wanted to do it full time. So no time like the present, right? To transform. And I said, go for it. It's the time, the universe is giving you that opportunity to do it. And we were enjoying the holiday season, watching one of our favorite shows on HGTV, Caribbean Life. And we came across a family who moved to the area that we're in right now. And I said to him, why aren't we doing this? We both work from home. I was a public speaking coach. He was full-time author. We both worked from home. We had our separate offices. Our daughter was going to school. And by the 31st of January, New Year's Eve, we had a friend over for dinner. We started talking about it again. And it was like, okay, let's do some research. And he's like our research guru in the house, right? He does all those little tasks. And by the 1st of January, we'd already met a real estate agent from Canada who had got in touch with us. And that's where it really literally snowballed in the middle of winter that we were going to make this project happen.
Wow, that's amazing. And how quickly you were able to move, and in the middle of all the lockdowns and everything that was going on as well.
And we were met with a couple of challenges because, our plan from day to day was 3 months. We decided Jan 1, we left April 1st. And of course, the biggest challenge we came across was that the government had had blocked all flights to the Caribbean. Oh, wow. We were able to circumvent the states.
There's always a way, right?
There's always a way. So we did find an amazing flight and got us down here on April. We flew April 1st and April 2nd from New Jersey. So we were able, that was like our biggest challenge, like in terms of like the project. Other than that, everything was very methodical when it came from selling, listing, selling, packing, sorting, and all of those things.
Wow. In 3 months. That's amazing. And how long?
It's doable.
How long had you lived in the Montreal area for?
I actually probably didn't live in the Montreal area for a lot of my life. I lived in the outskirts, the north coast of Montreal, on the North Shore, I should say. My parents and my family live in the Montérégie area in the country. So I've done a little bit around Montreal. So we were in the suburb of Montreal in Pincourt, and we had been there. We'd been there 5 years or 6 years. So it was still, fairly fresh, right? We were still new to the community. Our daughter was only in grade 2. And we knew that we were taking a big step, pulling her from school, her friends, our family. And I guess the traveler in me, I traveled for many years with a major cruise line company.
Wow.
And you just got used to like picking up and going. And I remember Rhett, my husband, saying to me, "You don't seem to have any issue with selling this house. Like it just doesn't seem
Yes.
to faze you." And I said, "No, because it's just brick and mortar.
Mm.
Our home is anywhere.
Mhm.
Our home is us being together, our trio, our triad." And when I said that, I think that helped with the process of, moving forward. But at the end of the day, the house was just a house.
Wow, that's amazing, because that's kind of some of the things that people get stuck with, right? Like that along that path. When my husband passed away almost 12 years ago, about 4 months later, I thought about going abroad and living in Bali. And I went with my 2 sons all the way across the world. And I started to investigate. I did it instead of going there and just living, which is kind of sounds more like what you did. I went to investigate, and I think the investigation scared me. If I had already committed and gone and done it, I would have been in a different situation. And it's a part of me that I always regret not doing that. And then they were around the same age, because they were 7 and 9, and your daughter's 8.
Oh, wow.
It
Yeah.
was a perfect
And
age, right?
it's a great age because
Yeah.
they're so adaptable.
Yeah.
And I'm just gonna not go on a tangent, but one of the things that came up last week and somebody asked me was like, how do you deal with, young children and moving? And we included her. We
Yeah.
included her in the process.
Yes.
And that made things so much easier. And
Yes.
there are moments where she's sad. She misses her friends.
Yeah.
And she wants to go back to her old school.
Yeah.
And we talk about it. And she has such a great school here that
Yeah.
it goes away.
Yeah, exactly. And so she's adapting. She'll have the most amazing experience. And it's interesting because I had 2 boys, and one boy was more resistant and the other was really excited. And we saw a school there that was really exciting. And the younger one, who was more excited, still regrets it too. Wishes, we would have lived in Bali and that type of thing. It was different too, because I was mourning my husband, so I kind of needed my community.
Of course.
But I still have that itch. And I think now that they're older, at different stages, they're different, right? I have that itch myself to do something like you're doing. And what happens as you get older, you get more kind of attached to things. So that's a big thing for me, is the house. Like I would think there's other ways too, that you might actually rent the house or do something else, right? What other things do people do that you've seen so far?
So some of the clients I've been working with, so as I move forward in the project, obviously I've evolved since I've been here, but I've been helping clients make this transition down here. So really,
that's amazing. In 6 months, right? You're already kind of shifting your work, and maybe you can tell us a little bit how you've shifted your work.
Well, I have always been a proponent of seeking help, knowing when you need to evolve, when something has to change. And so I actually hired some coaches to help me sort of find my way. And I was staying in this world of public speaking because it's what I've known for so many years, and I'm very passionate about it. And if you called me tomorrow, I would still do the public speaking because it's something I love so much. However, I was on the side, not realizing I was helping families move, because there were families that had come at the end of the spring that I was coaching, not realizing. And when they made me conscious of what this reality was, I went, oh, they're like, don't you think people would like to have the help that you're giving them? And I was like, oh, that makes sense. Referred to me as a badass because not everybody just picks up, sells all of their stuff.
Amazing.
Right. And says, okay, we're going to start a whole new life. So that's where I call it welcome to my world, because really that's what it is. This is our new world. This is where we are, what we're living, the why. And I want people to just have that sense of freedom, that sense of ease. And it doesn't really have anything to do with the current world situation. It really is about just being. And when we decided to do this, it had nothing to do with the right now, what's going on in the world. It had solely to do with a couple and their daughter who wanted to go on an adventure and try something new. We've both been in Canada. My husband is from Trinidad, but he's a Canadian citizen. Our daughter has only known Canada. And my job, I feel like, as a parent, is to give her the most experiences possible. And this is one of them.
That's amazing. Oh, wow. That's fantastic. And so tell us a little bit about like some of the challenges that you had to overcome. So you talked about the flights. That was one of them. It sounds like you sold the house. I mean, it was a good time to sell, I think, too, right? Except for the winter time.
Yes,
the market's really well, really good right now.
Yes. Yeah, no, everything I would say for the most part was very smooth. So I've not only been a speaking coach, but I've been in events and logistics. So I was able to apply all of these fantastic skills to make this transition happen smoothly, somewhat, there's always a hick or two. But, when we arrived here in what they call Semana Santa, which is Easter break. There were no availabilities. We had to move 3 times. We moved 4 times in total in a 2-month period. So that was a bit of a challenge, living out of suitcases, because we knew where we wanted to be. We wanted to be oceanside. We wanted the beach. We wanted pool. We wanted a condo.
Right beside the beach. People can't see, but behind you, the ocean is
it's right there.
up. It's amazing.
Yeah, we can maybe after we could do a little pan of the
that'd
beach.
Be great. Yes.
But so that challenge of finding out, okay, that our condo is not available, so we're going to live in this place first, and then we're going to go to this other. So those things, though, can be viewed as challenges or adventures, either way, I suppose. By the 3rd place, I was like, I'm done now. I'm done of unpacking and packing, and so when we finally landed in the condo where we are now, I was so grateful. So grateful for this view that I have every day, the community that we've built here. Some of the other bigger challenges, I guess, one of my biggest health challenges was on twofold. I got very sick in my first week, had a very bad ear infection. And the medical system is very different, but progressive here. So you actually don't need to see a doctor to get medical aid. We had somebody on site whose uncle was a doctor. She called him and he said, okay, this is what she needs. And the farmacia just delivered everything to our door.
Wow.
And nobody asked any questions. Nobody said anything. And I was just quite amazed. I was so happy, that I had this contact here that could make this call for me. And that the pharmacy, we didn't have to trek out and give this list of, antibiotics and things like that, to be taken care of. And within 24 hours, I was fine.
That's great. So what are some of your pleasant surprises or things that have really turned out well for you that you're really happy with?
Oh my gosh. Well, I won't lie. The view here is incredible. Every morning I wake up and I open these doors and I think, wow. So I knew I would enjoy it, but I still really enjoy it.
Yeah.
It hasn't gotten old. The local food is so good. It's so inexpensive. I mean, we can get a nice Dominican plate of food, which is maybe a stewed beef or chicken, rice, vegetables, and homemade beans, and you pay between $3 and $5.
Wow, amazing. So you never cook at
That's
home?
pleasant.
Someone like me
It's
who would
pleasant.
like to eat
I
out all
was
the time.
I was pleasantly surprised, so we have a couple of little spots that we like to go to because, it's like, oh, you want to eat out, but we don't want to spend, $40, $50 on a meal. That's what
It's
we,
more
where we,
than that here in Canada, by the way, for 3 people. You
yes,
get
it is.
McDonald's for $50 for 3 people. It's terrible.
Exactly,
Terrible.
exactly. Pleasantly surprised. We find a lot of the things that we have back home, that foods, and we have to be choosy because some of them, if they're imported, we don't purchase them because they're a lot more expensive.
Mhm.
One of my biggest surprises, maple syrup. A liter of maple syrup here is $18.
That's interesting. Yeah.
So I don't buy maple syrup here, but when my best friend came in July, she brought me 4 liters.
That's it, exactly. When we went to Costa Rica on our retreats, we would learn which products you could get down there and which ones we would bring in our suitcases and stuff. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. And then there's some that you acquire that aren't, that are new, and
Mhm.
I'm learning, one of the things that, I didn't have back home. I didn't have a cleaning lady.
Mhm.
And here, because we're oceanfront, it's necessary that we have somebody come every week because of the residue on the floors accumulates. So she comes now. We have her come twice a week because once a week I felt like wasn't enough. And now she comes twice a week, and it changes the whole sense of quality of life.
Mhm.
She does all our laundry. She does all the linens, changes the linens, the towels. Leanne, it's almost like unbelievable. And it's for very little
Mhm.
because that's just the standard of living here. And some people even I and my husband sometimes, I thought she's been here for 6 hours. I just want her to go home. Like, it's Saturday. I'm like, all I want to say to her is, okay, you've done enough, go home.
Yeah.
But no, but the other day, rice is not a food that I cook well. She showed me how to make rice,
Amazing.
and she was so happy to help me. And it was and since then I've made rice. My husband's so happy.
Oh, how amazing. So it sounds like you talked before a little bit about freedom, and
Yeah.
as you're kind of explaining, I get that sense from you. So can you elaborate a little bit more on your sense of freedom, where that comes from, where you're feeling it?
Yeah, I think the fact that we can just be outdoors all the time, in like our home has an indoor outdoor feel all the time. Wherever you are, there's a door, there's windows, and we keep everything open. So there's that sense of openness where right now, I know back home people are wearing scarves, and my friend said to me, oh, I got my little heater out today for her feet, and just knowing that I don't have to wear closed-toed shoes in the next, well, forever now, I guess,
Yeah.
is so satisfying. The fact that I'm sitting here in a t-shirt, and for me, that is a sense of freedom, because I hated dressing in winter. I hated it. I felt tedious. I felt it was always too much. It was
Mhm.
always too much. I always felt like, and I do know I traveled for many years, and there's a little bit of that still stuck in me. I think too, like, our daughter is living a much different, her education is a little different, but even in her school setting, the sense of freedom. Today we did a tour, actually, her and I, of the school. I'm going to post that hopefully but later tonight. And every class has an outdoor area.
Wow, amazing.
So they have all these doors with balconies, and the kids work inside, outside.
Is she learning in Spanish?
So the school's in English, they have Spanish classes, and now I just met today a teacher that's at the school who is French. So I've asked her to speak to our daughter in French so that she can also keep that language up, and we also have a tutor for her twice a week, from back home. So, those things are really important to us as parents, that she continue to speak French, but the fact that she's going to learn Spanish, I mean, she's going to be trilingual without a doubt.
Yeah. Amazing. And what about your work? And you and your husband, what kind of is your day like? Is it,
Oh,
is it,
well, I
picturing you
try and
sitting by
keep
the beach and taking a Zoom call and coaching people
so
and him
so I
writing? It's
try.
very romantic.
So he kind of migrates down by the pool. He's kind of claimed this one table by the pool where he sits at for most of his day. I'm gonna say like a 9:30 till maybe 2 or so, depending. That's where like he mainly will go and work because there's a beautiful breeze and the light is perfect and there's a parasol and it's just a beautiful setting to sit in. I mean,
Wow.
let's be honest, like,
Yeah.
right? And for myself, I have like an office set up just over to my left over here, but this is my view every day. I try and keep a structured schedule. So, starting around 9 o'clock. But some days, like yesterday at noon, I went for a swim,
Nice.
and I'm guilty that I can stay sitting in my office for 4 or 5 hours. It's very easy, right? When you get kind of inundated
Yeah.
but there's a bit of everything. There's Zoom calls, client calls, interviews like this, development,
Mhm.
content for social media. So all of the things that I would do back home, I do here, just that I do it in a warmer.
I love it. And you find the internet connection seems good. I've had other connections with people in different places where it hasn't been as good. So I know in Costa Rica,
For the most part, yeah, no, we actually got boosters for around the condo. So we actually have a 2-floor condo, and everything here in the Dominican, for the most part, is concrete.
right.
So
Same as Costa Rica.
sound does not get out, and our connection, like in certain parts of the condo, was not strong when we first got here. So we got these boosters. They're like pods that you put around the house, and they just create such a great. So my daughter, who's up, she has a room upstairs. She has complete connection now. So, but we do lose electricity, and sometimes it happens in the most opportune moments. Like this morning, I was trying to do some banking. I was knee deep in the banking. Electricity goes out. I lost all the work. Had to start over.
Oh no.
So it is a common thing. And that's why I'll preface every call with a client with, if we lose connection, don't worry, I'll be back. Because there's a panic, right? So with technology, it's like, oh my God, where'd you go? She's not here. And
exactly. Now
no, I mean, I'm here. It will come. So and it usually takes about 2 minutes and we're back online and everything's good.
That's cool. And you decided on Dominican Republic because of the show, or was there any other reasons why you decided?
Well, maybe it's a bit of a funny story. So in 2012, my husband we turned 40 that year, and my husband's a Christmas baby. And he said, for my 40th, I do not want to be in Canada on Christmas in the dead of winter. So we booked a 5-star adults only resort, and we went to the Dominican on Bavaro Beach. Beautiful place, no kids in sight. It was beautiful. And we had a lot of rum that day. A lot of sun, a lot of fun, and a lot of rum. And probably too much rum. And 9 months later, she was born. So we have this little connection to the Dominican, a little personal connection. And we were big fans of this Caribbean life show, and we always gravitate towards the Dominican episodes. Not sure why. We just and this episode that was featured this area. So we are in Sosua on the North Coast. Part of the appeal of the North Coast, I think for families especially, is the safety aspect. There's a huge ridge of mountains that comes along that diverts any weather systems. So we will see rain, we will see wind, but we will not see a full-on hurricane.
Awesome. That's great.
So, yeah. So if you think about the map, it will divert up this way between Mexico, and that's why Haiti gets hit so much.
Okay. Yeah. Get the
Yeah,
south part of
sorry.
Haiti, right? Yeah.
Yeah,
I've been to
yeah.
the north part of Dominican. I think it was in the 80s before it was developed at all. It was amazing to go there then.
And I think, a couple of concerns that have come up, especially for family. My father wanted us to move to Australia because
Thank goodness you didn't.
it would, I thank goodness I didn't. Yeah. And it's 12 hour, like 24 hours away. Like that's,
Yeah.
and one of the appeals of moving here, it's a 3.5 hour flight. So if we
Wow.
had to get back home, right,
Yeah.
didn't
Yeah.
have to be too long. Couple of things here. One, very safe. You don't put yourself in an unsafe situation. You're fine. It's like anywhere else.
Mhm.
We also chose a gated community for the safety of our family and our daughter. So we have guards that are here 24/7. They know us now. They are on the beach side as well, like in the evenings. So that, we feel safe. We also chose a 3rd floor apartment because we wanted to be off the ground.
Mhm.
Mind you, we have neighbors that leave their doors unlocked all the time. So and they're on the ground floor. So, and I would, this is a developing country. This is a developed country. We have all the things that we have in North America.
Mhm.
We cannot drink the running water though. Like we only use it for washing dishes and showering, things like that. We don't use it for drinking because it's not chlorinated. But other than that, like it's pretty much like living at home.
Amazing. So now, people are starting to reach out to you and you're starting to coach
Yes.
them. And I wanted to get back to a question I had asked you before, which was you did it a certain way, which was
Yeah.
phenomenal and super courageous. And hats off to you. And
Thank you.
I don't think I can do that yet. I think I need like baby steps myself, but I think maybe there's some other people out there too. Can you tell people what other ways to do it? Like we talked very briefly without going into detail, maybe renting your house and going down there. What are some of the other people that you're coaching doing?
Absolutely. So some clients have sold their homes completely and they've done the complete, we're out of here. So they've sold, packed up, stored, and they've even shipped.
Can I ask you what the benefit of that is? Because I'm sure there's some real benefits having the financial of doing it that way, like kind of like you did in a way.
Well, I mean, there's no doubt that selling our home helped us get established here with little worry.
Right, exactly.
So there's definitely that.
There's the freedom again.
Right? Absolutely. So there's less worry. There are costs in moving, I've said to clients, budget a grace period where you're not stressing about groceries and you just want to eat out because you don't want the headache of having to go to groceries and think about meal planning and things like that. We did that in our first month where we bought groceries for lunches and breakfasts and snacks. And then dinner, we sort of like felt it out because things change here. I don't want to divert from your question, but it's hot. You don't eat the same way.
Yes.
There's nights where, you might have lunch at 1:30 in the afternoon. By 5:36, you don't want to have dinner. So it's like,
you look so healthy too. I go back to the question, but you look really healthy. Do you feel?
I feel good.
Yeah.
I feel good. I do feel good. Yeah, I feel good. And because I think, we're eating much fresher foods, and not as much because it's hot, more water. There's definitely a need for more water and more water on top of the water you should drink.
Yes, exactly.
You don't have a choice. And of course, you need water because after all those cocktails, you got to hydrate. But okay, so back to your question, because I don't want to see it diverted again. So there are multiple ways of doing this. So we decided to sell. I have clients that sold their homes, ship things here. We decided not to ship anything. We have things in storage back in Canada. So that was a choice we made. but only personal items. We don't have any furniture. That is all gone. I have clients who have just come down. They have not sold their homes yet. They weren't ready to do that, and that you can do. It was suggested to us by a family member who was concerned that maybe we should just rent our house because, but we didn't want the headache of having to rent a home that we weren't even in the same country with,
Yeah.
and it was more interesting for us to have the liquid, right?
Yeah.
Out of the home.
Yeah.
So we had invested that in-house for 5-6 years. So we benefited from that.
Yeah.
But it really always boils down to what works for you and your family. What works for you and your family? Some people want to come here and they want to buy a house. I'd say great, but before you can buy the house, you better come live here, experience it, go visit some homes. I know a story of a family who bought a house without seeing the house. They gave power of attorney to the real estate agents, and it hasn't turned out as well as they liked.
Yeah, exactly.
So you have
Imagine
to.
There's a lot of legalities with that too, right? The moving and buying.
Well, it's like anything else, you still have to have a down payment. You still have to, do all this. The financial part is an area that I'm less educated in and I'm learning about right now for clients.
Yeah.
But I know that some people come down and they just want to buy out right out, and not have to deal with it.
Yeah.
My suggestion is come down and rent. Get a feel for the area you're in, because as an example, we are in Sosua. So we are just about 5 minutes out of Sosua. There's a few places we can walk to, but generally speaking, you need a car. There's one town over, which is called Cabarete. We love this area. We've fallen in love with it. There's just a vibe about it. This beachy kind of hippie sort of vibe. We love going there in the evenings and going to one of the beach bar restaurants and hanging out. We're thinking of maybe that's our next spot.
Yeah.
And we know that there's an option. One of the pluses of us living where we are is that we're about a 10-minute walk from our daughter's school. I can't ask for better.
Yeah.
Right.
So
come down and experience the area, because maybe you're going to be here and you're going to say, yeah, this is not what I thought. I want to try something different.
Exactly.
And that's okay too. That's part of the adventure.
Yeah. And do you have people that are just coming down for a short period of time, like to live there for 6 months or anything like that? Are there people?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, if their need is that, and I think the framework we've put together is to look at the before you arrive, that travel period, and then the post arrival. So clients who arrived this past Sunday, today, she's like, I'm looking for this, I'm looking for that. And I'm the resource for that. Yes, I have that person. Here's the number. Here's the, and it's to have that, I put it all the timeline. When we came here, we knew nobody. No one. We had no friends. There was nobody here. And I'm not really sure how we did it, but we made it happen. I'm an avid networker, so I got those skills. Don't speak much Spanish, but did the best I could to get our, self across. Asked a lot of questions. So since then, it's about bringing that ease, the freedom, but showing them the ease of how it can be done.
Exactly.
And having that go-to person, being the sounding board.
That's amazing to have. And how do you work with people? Can you describe a little bit, like if someone wants to be a client, how would you work?
Yeah. So, I mean, it's, I would say right now it's like a bi-weekly call based on need. And I'm reachable like through WhatsApp. Usually it's just a text. Like most of the time clients they just need a question answered. However, if I feel the question has more depth to it, then we get on a quick call and say, where are you at? There's a bit of mindset there, expectations. God bless them, I have a family who I said, you might want to move to this sort of area because the kids, and oh yeah, and they decide to go elsewhere. But now they're like, we're not sure we want to stay in this elsewhere.
Exactly.
Right. And the idea is I cannot make decisions for anybody.
Just
I
like
can
a coach,
go.
right? Just like your coaching business when you were
Exactly. So can I go visit condo units to see what it's like and video tour it or do a live with you so you can see what it's like from a 100%. And I've done that. And I've actually said to clients, you cannot have a family live here. You can't. Like it's a part of town that is not safe for, for expats, right? So those are the type of services that I include because it brings that sense of ease, that sense of like, okay, she has me, like we're good, doing groceries on arrival, helping them, navigate the store. It sounds silly,
I
but
know
you should have
when I
seen.
talked to you before, you said you were bringing groceries over for someone. Now, how amazing is that?
And I mean, I think our first grocery trip lasted 2 hours because you stand there and you have to try and figure out what the conversion is.
I know this from doing retreats.
Yeah, exactly. Right. And it's such a silly thing, but if you have somebody, if I'd had somebody there helping me, it would have been so much better. I wouldn't have had that sense, like there was a bit of anxiety. And I was lucky when we first arrived, there was a family here from New York City who were originally Dominican. And she kind of took me under her wing and showed me around and, educated me on a few things. And that was helpful too. So I, soaked up as much as I could before she left. And we still talk. And when I have questions, I reach out to her and she helps me out. So, from organizing transfers from, airports that are a little bit further away, to hotels, to rentals. So there's so many little aspects that come with it that when you're preparing for a project like this or an adventure like this, you're not thinking of all the things.
And your coaching right now is strictly with the Dominican Republic, right? Your coaching.
It is absolutely. So there will be a model. There will be a model for other areas because one of the beauties of traveling for many years is that I have contacts in so many different countries that I can reach out to and ask them for help. But the model essentially sort of washes, rinse, repeats anywhere you go because it's all the same things you have to think about. It's just like you're choosing to go to a different country.
Amazing. And is it different legally in different places, like depending on their citizens' laws? Like I'm thinking, if you are not looking for a job, like you guys are bringing your work with you, right? You're self-employed, you're working internationally online. Are most countries, you could live in countries if you work like that, or does it?
I would say if you're working independently, then it's less of an issue. Here, there's no, unless you're being hired for a position where you're going to, require the visa, et cetera, then you wouldn't, because it's not a standard of living that a North American would be accustomed to. So, with the skill sets that we have, and it's not that they don't have skill sets here, it's just that they don't pay the same way we do in America.
But you have like a portable work, right? So you can, and you and your husband and more people, I know a lot of people who are even working for companies and their company allows them to live almost anywhere. But, again, it depends a bit on the tax laws. But let's just say people like us who are self-employed, do you know if it's an issue with most countries like the Dominican where you can...
I haven't heard of any issues. I have a coach I know, she's just gone down to Costa Rica and that she's coaching from there. That's what she's doing. And there's no there's no repercussion. So I would say we'd have to double check in each, individual country.
Yeah.
But for the most part, I would think that if you're independent and you're not sort of like taking that job away from anybody,
Exactly. Yeah.
and it's not an issue.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
And so
Absolutely.
tell me a little bit about, like, we use the last couple of questions, the type of person that is kind of ideal for this type of move, and maybe someone who is not. If you want to go
I love
there,
that.
if you've met people that say, no, it's probably not the best thing for you, or yes, you're perfect.
Well, you have to. So I think right now there's a couple of things. There are people that maybe like you who are like, I've been wanting to do this and, I'm not sure where to start. And, that's ideal because, as you know, if somebody's coachable, they will, get on board and
Yes.
do the steps they need to do.
Yes.
However, if people are doing it out of fear, out of that sense of escapism,
Right.
then it gets a little bit not complicated, because now you are so focused on your why is no longer the same.
Right.
Your
That's a
why
really
is
good
no
point.
longer the same.
Mm-hmm.
So my why had nothing to do with the now.
Yeah.
We are just benefiting of being here because of the now.
Yes.
And I think that's important. Like if somebody's thinking, okay, I want to change, right? You want something different.
Want to
And
adventure.
this is something you want to adventure.
Yeah.
Then you have to come at it from that angle. I've had one mom say to me, I'm doing this for my kids. I want them to have more. That's fair. We wanted more for our little one. We wanted her to see other things. But we didn't choose this out of, like, oh my God. It was more like we want adventure. So I really feel like people need to decide, am I coming out of this? Am I doing this because I want novelty? I want, adventure.
Freedom.
And that's, one of the things that I want to tackle tomorrow when I'm doing this master class tomorrow morning at 10 o'clock is talk about the mindset you're in before. And there's going to be a roller coaster you're going to go through. And all of the clients go through it. I've gone through it. That week I got sick, my husband's like, do you want to go home? I'm like, no, I don't want to go home. I just want to get better.
Yeah. Well, and you know what? I think that you as your business model grows, I suspect that a lot of that is going to be such an important part, because if I had had a coach like you when I was in Bali, I would have stayed a year there, and I would have never been looking back regretting it. Right?
Yeah. Well, it's still not too late. It's not too late
until they were, it's true. It's never too late, but I can't do it with my kids. They're grown, right? And that was what you said. Like, I really wanted to do it. It was an amazing school there that was so unique. I wanted to do that. So, that's the kind of thing where I got there and then I started to panic. I was like, oh, the other thing is kind of, I guess, one of the last things I'll ask you or mention, because you mentioned it to me off camera, was that this community you're creating. See, that's so neat. Like, you could go to Bali or somewhere else. If you don't know people, you're really starting from fresh, but you're actually creating. How many people did you say you're already moved over there?
Well, there's 4 families already, so a total of 18 people.
That's amazing. You got a community of 18 people already.
Yeah, and we're all gonna kind of come together on the weekend for Adele's birthday and meet one another, and some of them it's a reunion because they knew each other back home.
Right.
And I mean, the intention was never there, right? Of creating this community. But it's such a warm feeling to see people come together and see the client on the camera this morning when she's smiling and she's like, I'm going to go to the pool today and hang out with my kids. I'm like, yeah, that's what you got to do. That's why you're here. That's why you're here. And we really, you know, we live in a society, Leanne, that asks us to be on the go all the time. And I'm still learning how to slow down. I'm still learning that after I've worked for 2.5 hours this morning with my husband, I took a break.
Nice.
Took a break, you know, and I watched a cheesy TV show because, oh, I can.
And it's amazing that, you know, some people might be looking and go, oh, you're, you know, a family, husband, wife, you know, maybe it's easier, but I know one of our mutual friends is a single mom coming down with her son. Like anybody can do it, right? It doesn't, you don't have to fit your model, right?
No, there's no mold. There's no right or wrong. I think it's really about, what do you desire? What is it that you truly desire, and how can that happen? And I'd say for the most part, people who've come to my doorstep are people who've already decided this is what they want to do. Now we just have to get into action mode and go down the checklist and go check, 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 check. Oh, forgot about that. You know,
amazing.
And have somebody, for me, it's holding space for the client. It's supporting them. It's, you know, reminding them that they're taking a risk, but it's okay. And it's okay to be afraid, and it's okay, and have the fearful moment and then let it go. Because we, you know, as humans, we question ourselves and we create doubt, and, you know, and I did it too. I did it all too. But I know that I'm in my element when I'm here. Yeah.
And, you know, there was a nurse, palliative care nurse, Bonnie Ware, who studied, or who researched, spoke to 800 people at the end of their life and asked them what their top regrets were. And the number one was, I wish I had the courage to live the life I knew I was meant to live.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
That's what, you know, just kind of summarizes everything you're saying. So you really inspired me. Thank you very, very much. This video may not get out in time exactly for your masterclass. So tell people how they can get in touch with you otherwise. And
so I think the best place is to go check out, and, you know, if there's any questions, on Instagram. So Nat Mailhot is the simplest one, at Nat Mailhot. So NATMAILHOT. And there's tons of posts and videos there, you know, talking about different things, and messages, you know, direct messages can be sent there with any questions. And there's a calendar link in there in the bio. Just click on it and they can go straight to my calendar and book a call with me. Easy peasy.
Beautiful. That's awesome. Well, congratulations of
Thank
this
you.
Beautiful. Can you just show us a little peek at the
oh my god, I would love to. Yes, let's do that. Let's do that. So this is my morning view.
That's crazy. Oh my word.
Yeah,
beautiful.
And then I'll just quickly turn this way. Wow. And this is where our pool area is.
Oh, lovely. And one of my favorite things is to swim at night in the water in a pool and just look at the stars.
I have not done that. I have not done that. I'm not a fan. Not a fan.
Maybe I'll have to come and visit you. That's awesome.
Absolutely. Anytime, Leanne, the door's open.
Oh, great. Well, Nathalie, thanks so much for speaking with me and for the people who'll be watching afterwards. I really appreciate the time you spent with us and inspiring us. You really are representative of a change leader. So keep up the great work. Thanks so much.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate that. Have a great day.
You too.